The EU has issued an ultimatum over Brexit, telling the UK it must withdraw its plans for a law to override key parts of the Brexit divorce deal, or trade talks could collapse. The blunt warning came after talks in London today. Brussels has threatened legal action if Britain doesn't back down, saying the proposed bill would be a serious violation of international law. But tonight the government said it would not budge. Our political editor Laura Kuenssberg is in Westminster. Laura.
Sophie, we left the EU many months ago now, but still to be resolved, not just how we do business with the huge trading bloc in future, but also how those special arrangements for Northern Ireland are to function in practice. The EU's officials came to London today demanding an explanation, demanding more information and understanding from the government after days of provocative moves from ministers here. But rather than anything approaching peace talks, the day ended with an angry standoff. After months of comings and goings, could the moment to get a decent long-term deal with the EU almost be gone? The bloc hates the government's latest plan to rewrite some of the treaty that was signed and sealed with Brussels last year.
I came here to express serious concerns the European Union has over the proposed bill. So that would be the matter of our discussion today.
Hello, good morning. It's a lovely day.
Ministers want the power to change parts of the law agreed with Brussels last year over what happens in Northern Ireland. But they've even admitted the plan breaches international law. And that appalled the EU, coming to London for an explanation. Far from making peace, the talks ended with anger and threat. The EU demanded the UK withdraw these measures from the draft bill in the shortest time possible, and in any case by the end of the month, saying the withdrawal agreement contains a number of mechanisms and legal remedies which the EU will not be shy in using. In other words, if you don't budge, you'll hear from our lawyers. Yet forget about the UK side backing down. Ministers are sticking to their claim. Their action is fully justified.
Vice President Šefčovič also requested that the UK withdraw its internal market legislation. I explained to Vice President Šefčovič that we could not and would not do that, and instead I stressed the vital importance of reaching agreement through the Joint Committee on these important questions.
So until the standoff is resolved, talks about the trade deal that matters so much are at risk. Good morning, Mr. Barnier. Is there a way?
Hello, how are you? Good afternoon.
Brussels chief negotiator was in town today too, but the chances of progress are plummeting.
Of course, this has been a long old process, but the signals are bad. The atmosphere is tense. The EU riled by what they see as the UK's provocation this week.
It's not just the EU that has a big problem with the government's proposals. They'd have to pass the Green and the Red benches of Parliament. Listen to the House of Lords today. Can you imagine the plan getting through?
The rule of law is not pick and mix. This stinking hypocrisy chokes our country's reputation and destroys our government's ability to lead at home and make agreements abroad.
Even a former Tory leader, a Brexiteer, has serious fears.
How can we reproach Russia or China or Iran when their conduct falls below internationally accepted standards, when we are showing such scant regard for our treaty obligations?
Some Tory MPs share some of the EU's concerns. The chance of the government backing down right now seems zero.
Trust and confidence are and will be key.
And confidence he calls for, that's in short supply. Laura Kuenssberg, BBC News, Westminster.
Let's speak to our Europe editor, Katya Adler, who is in Brussels. What is the view there tonight? Is a trade deal doomed?
Well, Sophie, you really cannot separate this war of words and will that's raging between the UK and the EU over this legislation, the Internal Market Bill on the one hand, and the trade negotiations in the other, because the mood in one very much affects the other. So today, when we heard that the government is refusing to change the legislation, then obviously that makes the EU think about how its future negotiations can continue. The EU has threatened legal action, but it has stopped short, though, Sophie, of threatening to press that nuclear button of walking out of trade negotiations altogether. And why is that when we know that the EU is furious? Well, first of all, it would still like a trade deal with the UK this autumn. But also, Brussels feel it's being bounced by the government, provoked into walking out of trade negotiations. We don't want to give them that satisfaction, is how one EU diplomat put it to me. And so instead of walking out of the negotiations, despite the legislation arguments on the one side, despite a huge amount of issues that separate the two sides in the trade agreement, despite time and trust really running out between the two sides, it seems neither the EU nor the UK want to be the first ones to walk out of the negotiating door. Tonight, we heard that negotiations will continue here in Brussels on Monday, but of course, Sophie, with a huge black cloud hanging over them.
Katya Adler, thank you.